A very good evening, and you're welcome to the Business and Enterprise Show with Hugh, Leddy here on CavantTV.com this Wednesday evening. My guest this evening is Tony Brannock from Sherry Fitzgerald Brannock here in Cavan Town. Tony, you're very welcome.
Thank you, Hugh.
And we're going to talk about a few things this evening. I guess one of the leading auctioneering firms, leading brands in the country. I guess how it is the property market from your perspective, from a national point of view. We recently had, of course, Pádraig Smith in, competitor, and he does a lot in the northeast. But you have your finger on the pulse throughout Ireland, and I think they're saying now it's bouncing along the bottom. Is that the correct term?
That seems to be the general consensus. Just at a meeting of Sherry Fitzgerald agents across the country there just last week, and it seems to be general consensus that we have reached the bottom. There are many different markets within the property market. Each is finding its own level at various times. A number of things that are common nationally. The banks tend to be releasing development land. It's selling at agricultural values, but it's achieving sales. A lot of that is happening. There will be more activity on residential units as well, as the market establishes a base price for those units. Yeah. As I say, varies broadly between area to area and sector to sector, and it's a conglomeration of, there's 1,000 markets within Ireland. Be it the apartment market in Cavan, the land market in Cork. It's not as homogenous a property market as it was. But we're definitely seeing an increase in activity and a considerable improvement in last year. Yeah.
Now, tell me your own experience. I suppose you should have come to that first. Your own experience. How did you come into to be in the property game, or how long you're from? You're from Galway, I should say originally.
From Galway originally, a small place called Castlegar, just outside Galway City. Moved to Cavan in 2001. Have been resident here since. Was employed at that stage. I'm a business studies graduate from the GMIT in Galway. Was employed at that stage by Royal Life Assurance, financial advice and life insurance game, and that. Always had an interest in property, and spent a number of years working as an agent for G.A. Burns and Associates. The opportunity to come up, Sherry Fitzgerald Martin was trading here in Cavan Town, and I purchased the franchise in 2008. And we've, through very, very difficult times, we've kept the doors open and the lights on since. I started business exactly a week after the bank guarantee.
I was just going to say that it was a strange or a brave time to be venturing into an auctioneering franchise.
Well, I got a few years' experience behind me. I got to know and like the property business. I seen a lot of benefits in the Sherry Fitzgerald franchise, and if I suppose I'm honest, yes, the bank guarantee had just happened. Did I know the repercussions of it? The repercussions of the international financial crisis would be as bad as they were. Did I know that the country, would have lost its sovereignty, would be under a bailout of the IMF? No, I couldn't have predicted that. But, one day at a time, we've seen it through, and I do believe that we're on course for better things.
I suppose a very relevant question at this point, and you'd probably say it's not the right one to ask you, but with the benefit of hindsight, would you have, in light of what all has happened since, if you had to know it was coming, would you have ventured into it, or is it really what you're passionate about, is selling property?
It's what I know, it's what I'm passionate about. Probably yes. Yeah. Probably yes. I suppose I look at it as a good job. We don't know what's ahead of us. I've given it my very best shot, and it's worked out, in the circumstances quite well.
What's the biggest challenge that are I would say obviously no, but the biggest challenge an auctioneer faces in the current climate?
There's a number of challenges. I suppose one of the challenges would be managing vendors' expectations. Some vendors, realise that there's a drop in the market, but don't realise just the scale of that, and they're convinced that you can get them last year's price. We'll certainly achieve a sale. We'll get the best price possible, but it's the 2012 price, and I suppose managing vendors' expectations can be quite challenging. Managing purchasers' expectations that they expect, because we're in a recession, that stuff is for absolute nothing.
Mm-hmm. That perception would be out there. I mean, that people, you can bid what you like for something.
That perception is there, and I get ridiculous bids at times. I often don't take them to the owners. I downright insulting at times. But it's our challenge is to manage that, to give an expectation of realistic value, and there's certainly huge value in the market. That doesn't mean it's been given away or been given for nothing, or that there's any need to insult a man's property. That's just the way it is. So I suppose the twin the twin challenges of the estate agent are to manage the vendor's expectations and then to manage the purchaser's expectations as well, and bring them in line with the market norm and get your sales on the go.
How important is it, Tony, from you? I suppose, I think I'd be right in saying you're the only one in the town has a national franchise at this stage in the auctioneering.
Well, Peter Donoghue would be with Real Estate Alliance. They would be grouping.
That's grouping rather than...
It's a grouping, I suppose, more than the franchise. Sheriff Fitzgerald, I find very, very beneficial for a number of reasons. I've access to an awful lot of expertise, in various areas. I've access to a huge network of agents. There's 114 branded Sheriff Fitzgerald offices across the country. We've DTZ Sheriff Fitzgerald active in 54 countries. Interestingly, the managing director of DTZ Sheriff Fitzgerald is a Butler's Bridge native, a man called Vinton Tierney.
Yes.
We have now in our countrywide division a man called David Ashmore, head of country farms, country houses, lands and estates. And David, in his previous term with Savills, would have been the man that negotiated the sale of the Farnham estate to Ryan McCabe. So I have the expertise of those sort of people at my fingertips. That's invaluable. I also have, a finger on the pulse in every major town in Ireland through the Sheriff Fitzgerald network. I also find that the brand recognition is huge, that people that come to look at property tend to seek out the Sheriff Fitzgerald office, possibly because they had an experience with the Sheriff Fitzgerald agent in Dublin or other places, and they do tend to seek us out. On top of that, we have a huge central support where Sheriff Fitzgerald, nationally based in Ballsbridge in Dublin, would be managing a lot of clients' properties nationally, and then subbing them to the like of myself and Cavan and the various agents.
Now, someone that's thinking, from a estate agent's point of view, someone that's in a situation that's a negative equity, they're talking that the new product that's out now that they're marketing is the mortgage, where you bring some of your negative equity with you into the next sale. How do you manage something like that, or how do you convince a person or advise a potential customer about what is suitable, how much debt, what commitment is it? I think it's the new house, the 75, is it 175? I think 75 or 175% of the value is the top-up mortgage. There are only a certain amount that allow bring with them.
Oh, I understand what you're saying. There are some innovative products like that available. My experience in the market at the moment is finance is very, very difficult, and the normal mortgage process is probably accounting, in my experience, for about 35 to 40% of sales. Otherwise, other than that, we're getting a lot of interest from England, from Australia, from Eastern Europe.
Right.
People that have been living here for quite a while, sending back money to these countries, coming back and now being able to maybe get support at home and backing it up. The negative equity, unfortunately, it's a feature. Anybody that bought a property from 2004 on with any reasonable mortgage, above 80%, is a negative equity. There's no getting away from that. It's an unfortunate situation. There's a lot of talk of the banks, dealing with this and allowing customers who have unblemished records, but whose sole barrier is the value of the property, allowing that to transfer to a smaller property possibly. There hasn't been a huge amount of that actually happening in the marketplace just yet.
Yeah, right. But do you see it, it is becoming a little bit, there will be a little bit more activity, I'd imagine, as we start to move on now, because it is starting to be addressed.
I would imagine so, yes.
Yes.
I would imagine so. The banks are beginning to address distressed properties, are beginning to, certainly as I say in development plan, they've made the call that the bottom has been reached.
Yes.
And in a lot of classes, asset classes, residential property and that, in various areas of the country, I think they'll be making that call in the next number of months. The other thing that will change the landscape in relation to debt in Ireland, and I know you'd be very familiar with it, Hugh,
is the new insolvency.
The new insolvency legislation. Yes. So that has to go through the House of the Oireachtas in this term. So it'll be interesting to see the final outcome of that. Yeah. We've seen the draft.
It's been awaited by a lot of. And do you think we'll see that through this side of Christmas?
It's promised this side of Christmas.
In for that, isn't it?
It is. It's to go through the Dáil and Shannon through this term. The Shannon can make amendments, the Dáil can make amendments. So it'll be interesting to see the final product. And really, I suppose we have to reserve comment until we see the final.
It's a negative one, that. So let's move to a positive stand. The demographics of who's buying. Those that are buying, from a commercial, residential, point of view, what is selling? There is a bit of everything is selling, but is there a higher percentage of one than the other?
Yes, I suppose it's people are looking for bargains. We we're finding the majority of people who are purchasing houses through our office anyway, and I'd imagine the same
Yes.
as the two agents in the town, are buying that house to live in, are buying that house for its use, and are giving it a value accordingly. Whereas prior to this, in a thriving market, an awful lot of possibly the majority of the activity was for people for second homes, for investment properties, rental properties, and that. That is not so much anymore. Beginning to resurrect a small bit.
Yes.
But the vast majority of my buyers certainly are looking for a house to live in, and you know the array and quality and value that's out there for somebody that's looking for a family home in Cavan is huge. It's absolutely huge. Leads me on to holding an auction on Friday of 3 substantial family homes.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you about that. Yeah,
It's
all the tree on the tree on your first auction is it's a small enough auction, but it's a start. It's a new strand for you, I think, at this stage, isn't it?
That's right.
For sure.
You know, auctions tend to be for farmland and that. I brought 3 properties here, 3 substantial family homes that are targeting, you know, first-time buyers, maybe second-time buyers, but you know, 3 properties under 100,000. You know, substantial detached homes all over.
Sorry, when you say family homes, those are properties that are suitable for families, as opposed to taking off families.
Oh yes, I beg your pardon. I beg your pardon. Important to
Just to clarify that.
Suitable for families. I mean, just to give you an example.
Well, they're suitable for letting as well, but by and large, they're more.
By and large, the larger properties tend to be owner occupied.
Only occupied.
Tend to be owner occupied. We have 3 of them under the hammer. 3 o'clock on Friday in the Cavan Crystal Hotel. We've 37 Cloneven, a large detached property in Swellen, quite a prestigious estate just behind the rugby club there. You know, 4 bedrooms, master en suite, 2 large living rooms, excellent decoration, very, very large site, garden
and then
sheds,
the other one
decking.
is Lavy. You have one there.
One at Lavy, 6-bedroom
Yes.
house, 6-bedroom house at Lavy, Ahadrina Drive, just off the N3, about 6 miles from Virginia, just about 500 yards off the N3. Would need some TLC,
Yes.
some bit of work on that.
And then you have another one.
We have a reserve of 89,000.
Very good. They're all under 100. Looking at the brochure, I think, aren't they?
All
Am I
under
right
100.
correct in
We
saying
have
that?
another
Yeah.
one then
Yeah,
at
quick.
Kilquilly, Belgiumduff, on the old Castle Road out of Belgiumduff. Substantial property, 5 bedrooms, 3 en suites. It's a dormer over basement, and what you have there is you have a large basement. Configured at the moment is a 1,000 square foot euro or 1,000 square foot of a workshop, and another 300 square foot as a children's play area. Then,
Yeah.
as one of my viewers said to me during the week, he says, you know, I said myself and 5 brothers and 3 sisters, he says, were reared on 1,300 square foot. He says it's less than the size of this basement, you know,
Yes.
not to mind the house. So I suppose it just shows there's a lot of very, very fine properties
And
built and are coming to the market at an awful lot less than it costs to put them there. At the
Yeah,
moment, you know, so
that's the
exceptional
reality
value.
of it. But prior to an auction there, I would say from your experience, how do you judge, how can you judge as to whether or not there's a fair chance from the people that own the properties or have them with you for sale that you're putting for auction? How do you make a call as to whether or not it'll sell on the day? Is it in the amount of interest or?
Well, there's a reserve set and agreed with the vendors. So if we reach that level on the day, the hammer comes down. Failing that, we then enter negotiations with the highest bidder. But on the 3 I have, I'd be very, very confident of achieving sales. We have the auction, as you know, you sign the contract on the day. There's an auction contract.
Yes.
So we've sent out quite a few of them to the various solicitors, and we're very confident of bringing the hammer down on all 3 on the day.
Very good.
And then the plan is we have penciled in the 11th of November for a future auction. We have a number of preliminary bookings for that as well.
Yeah. How is we'll say people that are in negative equity now, and there are a good few people in that, you know, how are they being dealt with from any experience you have from our banks? What's the lending institutions advising people in them situations?
It's very, very much a case by case basis. I would have evidence to show, you know, the lending institutions are doing this, and evidence to show the lending institutions are doing that. Very much a case by case basis. The one thing I am noticing is that all the lending institutions are being more proactive and more inclined to sit down with people in the last 3 to 6 months than they were previously. And I think that's probably as a result of concern over what the insolvency legislation will mean for them.
Yes.
Very difficult to comment on what's happening there. It seems to be, it's horses for courses, it's individual negotiation. I think a lot of the banks have come to realisation that some of this money, and quite a lot of this money, is not recoverable. Whether they'll actually admit that to the client and write off, very, very few people getting it in black and white, but I think there's a lot of it happening.
The fee that was set for advising clients there, recently the accountancy body in Ireland, they said that they were going to, is it 250 I seen, or in around that sort of money. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but they were advising that they're just the banks are going to pay, but they're only going to pay a small fee.
Yeah, pay a small fee.
There seems a bit of resistance in the accountancy profession to it. Is it that it's too small, or that they're too limited in the advice they can offer?
I think it's a bit of both. I mean, I suppose if we're going beyond my own field there, it's in the area of debt
but
management.
Just from what you know about
financial expertise in that. I would imagine that the accountants feel they're being squeezed a little on that.
Yes, yeah.
You know.
It doesn't seem, well, in the overall scheme of things, in the amount of debt and the amount of advice and time involved. I don't know who came up with but it seems a relatively small budget, so to speak, to expect anybody to.
There is no doubt it is. Again, I'm not here to fight for the accountants, but it's a small fee, I suppose, and all the professionals, I suppose, we have to protect the fee. What has happened in our business, I suppose, the same as any other business, is we have to do more for less.
Yes.
And that's the reality of recession, no matter what business.
I don't think that there's anybody, in fairness, there's anybody in any business that would be what we say, that are doing more, more for less money.
That's that's the reality of where we are.
But when you see the dole queues, the fact is that you have a job or you still have a business with the doors open, I think is a benefit in itself.
It is quite often the only benefit. Quite often the only benefit. Yeah. I had a good man with me there, and he's just taken contract in England, and quite a few people that I have known and were active in the property market, friends of mine, clients of mine, have gone that road, and it's not an easy road either.
Yes. So I mean, another thing there that I want to dwell on are your Jerry Fitzgerald. Throughout, they had a few shows in London. They definitely had one in London last year. What sort of interest, or I'd use much follow through on that? They actually come to complete sales.
We hold that show every February, where a number of the agents go across. We had over 47 there this year, from all different parts of the country. It's advertised.
Sorry, 47 agents or 47 properties for sale?
Oh, sorry, 47 agents.
Yes.
47 agents with all their properties, so over 1,000 properties.
Okay.
Advertised throughout the national press in London, held in the Copthorne Tara Hotel. It's really a PR exercise. What we're finding in the English market, because of the exchange rate and because of the drop in the property values, people maybe that left Ireland many years ago, or people that are not connected to Ireland at all but aspire to owning a house in Ireland, are suddenly realising that it's now very, very achievable. Where it was off the radar a number of years back, it was just too expensive. Now, with the twin happenings of the downturn in the market and the exchange rate as well, you can get a very reasonable holiday home now from the region of 50 grand sterling, 70 grand sterling, you'll get a fine house.
Yes, which you wouldn't have got 5-10 years ago.
not the site.
Yes, but then with people working so hard, can they afford to take a holiday now? That's the next question. To have the home.
Funny, we're finding that quality holiday homes are attracting interest.
Yes.
We're familiar there with Belturbet. I have a new man in Belturbet.
Yeah, just going to come to that. Just going to
we had a
merger, as in new man on board. Yeah, Val McCall, very experienced auctioneer in the the northwest of the county, I suppose.
That's right. Yeah. Val had been at Belturbet, would have been a national sales manager for Cavan Crystal. Very well known, very well respected, very, very well liked man.
I'm married to a Butler's Bridge lady as well. We have to mention
that.
Very, very
important. Lady Natalie Farrell. That's right. And Val was operating McCall Auctioneer, and he found his niche in the holiday properties, was very much involved with the Erne River Lodges in Carnadara, in Belturbet, and that. We have now decided to merge. Val will be an area director for me, covering all of West Cavan, Belturbet, Ballyconnell, and we have a number of excellent properties there. We're sold selling agents for Woodford Meadows, which is exceptionally nice apartments, large apartments, from 800 square foot, 860 square feet, and 1,080 square feet, with moorings, done off very, very well, with prices starting from 45,000 there. Val, during the summer, as well as organising the merger, and it's been ongoing for a while, close to 3 sales in Erne River Lodges in Carnadara in a space of 6 weeks.
Very good. And how important is the water river aspect to to a sale, as in how many people,
In that niche, it's very important. In that niche,
there's
we're
plenty of it around
what we're
Baltorban
selling
as well.
What we're selling is the tranquility, the water, and the accessibility to the M50.
Right.
An hour from Dublin, you head off at 6 o'clock on Friday evening, you're down here at 7. You can be having your dinner in the Horseshoes or the Sleeve Russell at 8, 9 o'clock. And a lot of that. We will also be launching, on the instructions of Friel Stafford receivers, River Run, massive holiday development in Lough Dooley on the banks of the River Erne as well. Would have been on the market, 6-7 years ago for in the region of 450,000. We'll be launching them from 39,000 upwards.
God, there's a huge, if people, I suppose at that figure it's more realistic, but, if people would still with 425 odd thousand people on the dole queue, how long do you see it being until there's, the fella says until supply matches demand or demand matches supply, until we at least get back towards what we consider to be normality, which we would have known pre-Celtic Tiger.
Okay. I suppose, look, the market will find its level and is finding its level. Certainly Cavan, according to research, is one of the most oversupplied counties in the country. It's actually, according to Sherry Fitzgerald research, is the most oversupplied.
With units for sale?
With units for sale.
As per personnel, people living in the county?
That's right.
Yes.
We have, as per properties, actual physical properties built, we have 1 in 7 for sale.
Right.
Now that's an astonishing figure. Now that figure is kind of skewed in that there would be an extraordinary amount of Section 23 properties in West Cavan.
Yes.
That figure was drilled down for Cavan Town. It would be nothing like that.
Yes.
And we're finding that we have a supply of quality semi-detached and quality detached properties, but not a huge oversupply.
Mm-hmm.
My estimate is that we would have probably a year's oversupply in a situation where we've normal demand. Now we've nothing like normal demand at the moment. Normal demand for houses nationally would be in the region of 30,000, and that figure is underpinned by the SRI, and that, I'm not sure of the figure for this year. I know the figure for 2010 was something like 7,700. So we're not building nearly enough houses. The difficulty, of course, was that in 2006 there was 90,000 completed,
Yes.
where the figure that's needed is 30.
Yes.
But
we're eating into that now.
We're eating into that. We need to see the supply side regularised by availability of credit, normal banking practices, and that. And it will find its level. Now nobody's going to build houses to sell them at a loss.
Yes.
But
some people have now at this stage are in that situation that they've bought them or built them for investments a few years ago, which in the last 10 years.
Many people.
And I mean, how do you do you see that they're just in time? Will they sit on them? Some of them will sell them.
Depends on personal circumstances. Depends.
Yes.
Person's age, person's family circumstances.
Which will determine that.
How much money was actually borrowed.
Yeah. Now, there's one thing I want to come back to there. You were talking about Val, and that you'll be able to penetrate that market or cover it better now in Baltorban. The new bypass for Baltorban, it's scheduled to open when?
April 2013.
Next year, yeah.
That's
and
right.
How will that? What impact will that have on businesses from your experience from Val's in Baltorban? Will it drop for a while and then come back, or will it?
I think we have to look at this is not a new experience. It happened in other towns.
Happening Kells town was in this evening, yeah.
There's a lot of fear there at the moment about what it will mean. And I suppose, I know that the Baltorban community are very, very proactive and very involved in charity fundraising and community development association and the Festival of the Erne, etc. They're a vibrant bunch of people.
Yeah.
They have had public meetings already to address this on what, a vision for Baltorban after the bypass. It will be substantially different town. Baltorban has many challenges, particularly in the property sector.
Yes.
It will be a substantially different town. The whole Quinn traffic, the whole heavy lorries will be removed for it. So you can look at that as something that's taken away, or an opportunity that's given to you now to enhance the town and make it peaceful and reasonable to use.
Well, for one town, the one town and one community in Baltorban would set an example, because they have had their festival for a long, I think it's in their well over 20 years now, that festival Baltorban, and they've made a huge success of it. And of course the Leddy, the Erne is so well established nationally. and internationally as a competition, and
It is,
without fail, it's a credit.
It's not something I'm involved in myself, but it's something
Yes.
I admire community involvement very, very much. It takes a lot of effort to get these sort of things going.
And keep them going.
And keep them going is right. And they've done it consistently. They have a good bunch of people down there. I know Val has been involved at various stages in the process, and the lady there and that. And it's a credit to all involved.
I think the river, the fact that the river is, flows in around the town is a huge benefit as well, because long before, even 30, 40 years ago, they always had a great connection with Enniskillen and that via the water, and Donegal.
Oh, absolutely. And Waterways Ireland are a lot more active in all the tourism services and that there.
Now, before coming close to the end of the show, your own community involvement, of course, out in Butler's Bridge, where you're from, where I'm from myself, but you've been involved in a few different. You were involved in the Special Olympics, I think, a few years back.
Go back a few years.
Great movement.
Go back a few years. I volunteered when the Special Olympics were in Ireland here. Got an awful lot out of it. I have to say, really, really enjoyed my time. Yourself being self-employed, it's very difficult to get time for those things, but because to be close to my heart, I was the founding chairman of the Breffni Blues Special Olympics Club. Glad to report that it's going from strength to strength. I haven't been involved now for a few years, but good people took over, parents to the children, and going from strength to strength to establish a lot of new activities, and delighted for it. It's a cause that would be still very close to my heart. I did a stint going back a few years now as well, on the Butler's Bridge Development Association, and served as chairman there as well.
Yeah. Will we ever forget the fantastic event of Mary Davis was involved, our former presidential, or the presidential candidate, one of the candidates in the last presidential election, the fantastic spectacle in Croke Park for the Special Olympics.
Wonderful. Hard to believe it's 10 years ago next year, but wonderful, absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, and of course it has moved it on now to a new level even this year with the Olympics in the
Paralympics.
The
Paralympics. A lot of interest and got a lot of media coverage maybe that was missing before. And it's only right and proper. Yeah,
and from a point of view of do you be involved in community events there as a business person? Are you doing it from a conscious point of view, or does it generate much business profile?
I never really done it from a conscious point of view. Most of my community activity would be before I established myself in business.
Yes.
I run quite a tight ship. Yes. And I find it's business, being self-employed, is pretty much all-consuming.
Tell me about it. Yeah. Now, of course, the fact that you have a young family yourself growing up, you like to be involved in the community.
They keep me on my toes as well. I have two girls, 9 and 13. They certainly keep me on my toes. Yes.
Now, what's the girls' names?
Cara and Shauna.
Cara and Shauna. That's right. I've met them on a few occasions. Now, if it was Tash coming to the end of the show, if it was to interview you in 5 years' time here in CavantTV.com, where we hope we have treble the listenership, viewership in them times, in that short space of time, where would you think the Irish property scene will be in 5 years' time?
I think we'll be very settled. I think the euphoria of the boom and the opposite of euphoria, the gloom of what we're going through at the moment, will both have gone their course, and we'll be into a more settled, sustainable property market. Do I believe that the prices will have reached? I think they will have certainly leveled by
2018 or 2017. 5 years time. We'll judge for 5. Yeah.
I mean, we have to reach a sustainable level, and a sustainable level nationally is where, or internationally, approximately would be where an average family home is available to buy for between 3 and 3.5 times the average industrial wage. Totally. The situation at the moment is we're actually gone way below that.
Yes.
So there is certainly potential for an upside. You're asking me in 5 years' time. I think we'll be looking at prices quite a bit bigger than they are now. Whether it'll be back to a situation where people can actually buy a house and sell for a profit, that I'm not sure.
Tony, I'll hold you to that, right? And we'll book you for an interview for 5 years' time, which hopefully the two of us will be here. And that brings the show to an end for this evening. Thanks very much indeed for coming in, and pleasure. Wish you well with your business and your merger and all. That's all for the Business and Enterprise show this evening. Until next week, same time, same place. Hugh Leddy saying, Slán, good evening.